Bradley Bowman, the senior director of the Center on Military and Political Power at the Foundation for Defense of Democracies. Thank you for joining us.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thank you.
Well, let's start with President Biden has met with both Putin and Xi. Should the U.S. be concerned with these two having a meeting?
I think the United States and our democratic allies and partners should be concerned about growing strategic coordination between China and Russia. You know, they're united in their desire to have a world where might makes right, authoritarianism prevails, and they feel threatened by the United States when, at our best, we stand by the rule of law, territorial integrity, and national sovereignty. And you know, we see Russia threatening the beleaguered democracy of Ukraine, and we see China threatening Taiwan, another democracy under threat. And when we do that, we threaten their perspective about the way it should work. Putin believes he should be able to tell Ukraine what it can do, and China believes that it should be able to bully and coerce Taiwan. And I think America, our principles and our interests demand that when that happens, when a beleaguered democracy is under threat by an authoritarian bully, I think our interests and values demand that we match actions with words.
What do you think was the most crucial piece of information that came out of the meeting today?
You know, there wasn't a ton of substance. You know, clearly China and Russia are trying to portray themselves as, you know, the best of allies. The truth is they're not really allies as most Americans understand it. In other words, there's not a mutual defense treaty. There's not an attack on one as like NATO, you know, Article 5 NATO. It's nothing like that. But they are more aligned than they have been since the 1950s. The U.S. intelligence community said so a few years ago. And we're seeing, frankly, a disturbing number of military exercises between China and Russia in recent years, unlike anything we've seen. So there is reason to be concerned. But rather than just sitting around and be concerned, I think it's a time for the United States to double down on our democratic principles and to understand that, hey, China and Russia value partners. We should, too. So to my friends on the right who are sometimes inclined to you know, not want to criticize allies, I'd say we need our allies more than ever. And to our friends on the left, I would say, you know, in the final analysis, China and Russia really only respect hard power. So you can have the best of diplomatic communiques and pronouncements from the State Department, but if it's not backed by hard power, then I think we're gonna struggle to deter the kind of aggression that we don't want to happen in Ukraine and the Taiwan Strait.
Do you think we're at a point where Beijing would endorse any action in Ukraine?
It's a great question. You know, I think they are united in their desire to hurt the United States and the democratic principles for which we're working. And so I think probably China would recognize what Putin is trying to do to Ukraine because it's a lot like what they're trying to do in Taiwan. So at a minimum, they'd be quiet, if not explicitly supportive. But in the end, whether Putin does what he's threatening to do in Ukraine, right? He's amassing roughly 100,000 combat troops on Ukraine's north, east, and south. Whether he moves ahead or not will be determined by whether he believes there would be a strong response from the United States, NATO, and our democratic partners. So it's going to be really a cost-benefit analysis, and strongly worded diplomatic pronouncements is probably not going to have a decisive effect on Putin's thinking.
Mm-hmm. Well, we will keep a close eye on this one. Thank you so much for your insight, as always.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.